Hello everyone and welcome to my Soap Twist 24 channel. I hope everyone is having a wonderful day. Before we begin, please hit the subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. Never before had the sun over Los Angeles felt so chilly. Remy watched the city below shimmer like shattered glass from the balcony of the apartment she used to share with Dake. 3 years of believing that almost famous could still become forever. 3 years of stealing kisses in between editions, and 3 years of waking up to his gentle giggle every morning came to an end last night with a single text. "I'm sorry, Remington. It's finished." We both understand why. She was aware of the reason. Everyone in their social circle understood why. 2 weeks earlier, the showrunners had quietly removed Dake De Silva, the rising star and moody lead of the new Electra Bold, and the beautiful revival. They had mentioned the chemistry tests. The numbers. #Dake was no longer being shipped by ex-fans. #Delectra was being shipped. The studio paid attention. In her hand, Remy's phone buzzed. The call time increased, according to a message from an unknown number. Task for a new partner. Arrive by 9. Clothes. One bitter, hollow laugh came out of her mouth. New companion. Naturally, Remy Lang's sadness had to be converted into ratings, so they couldn't allow her remain motionless for even a moment. In the season finale cliffhanger, she was the girl who had been discarded on video, well, nearly on camera. The country had witnessed Dake's character, Jace Electra, select Valentina Bold, the enigmatic new heiress, over Remy's devoted, kind Aurora. It didn't matter to Remy whether life was mimicking art or art was stifling life. After receiving a note from the costume department, she put on the small black dress. No hue. Morning style. Excellent. Entering the studio lot was like entering a funeral where everyone pretended the body was merely dozing off. Members of the crew grinned tightly. Tina, the makeup artist, used shaky fingers to apply concealer beneath Remy's eyes. She muttered, "I'm so sorry, honey." Remy gazed at her mirror and said, "We all loved you two together." The light behind them had gone out, but the girl in the mirror resembled Aurora. Wide hazel eyes, waves of honey blonde hair. She lied and said, "It's fine. Just lines on a page," but it wasn't, because the wedding episode was being filmed today. No, never. Not hers and Dake's. Today, under a waterfall of white orchids that had been shipped in from Hawaii, Jace Electra will wed Valentina Bold in front of 300 extras. And Aurora, played by Remy, was supposed to realize she had lost everything as she stood at the fringe of the crowd, holding a crumpled invitation. In her mouth, the irony tasted like rust. As she entered the set, she saw Dake standing next to him in a midnight blue tux that gave the impression that his shoulders were incredibly wide. In real life, Valentina Bold was Kasia Voss, a 24-year-old woman with Icelandic cheekbones and legs that began at Remy's ears. The lady who had taken her place in every manner. Kasia's cold, pitying gaze darted across Remy. "Are you all right, my love?" Her voice was full of poison and honey as she inquired. "Big day." Dake refused to look Remy in the eye. She noticed the muscle jerk as he adjusted his cufflinks, his mouth clenched so tightly. "Locations," the director yelled. At the rear of the cathedral set, Remy made her mark. The organ grew larger. Kasia moved like a sword slicing through silk as she walked down the aisle. Dake appeared to be drowning in love, even while he was acting. The same look he had on the night he asked Remy to marry him on the Santa Monica Pier 6 months prior, with a ring concealed in a seashell and a promise of the ocean and all subsequent sunrises. Real, hot, uncontrollable tears began to well up in her eyes. According to the screenplay, Aurora sobbed in silence. "Excellent. Acting is not necessary." The priest said, "Do you, Jace Electra, take this woman?" Remy's knees gave out. Not in the screenplay. Breathing heavily, she caught herself on a pew. The extras felt a ripple. "Is she okay?" someone murmured. "Cut," the director yelled. "What the hell, Remy?" However, she was unable to stop. Years of near misses and occasional outbursts had turned into a torrent of tears. She put her palm to her mouth and tasted Chanel lipstick and salt. Dake violated his morals. Ignoring the gasps, he left the scene and took 4 long steps across the aisle. He appeared devastated up close, his lips bloodless and his eyes crimson. His voice cracked like a teenager's as he muttered, "Remington, I apologize. I made an effort to resist it." "I don't care about the contract, the studio," she growled, so low that the boom mic couldn't pick it up. "It bothers me that you didn't defend us off camera." His fingers lingered close to her cheek before dropping. "You just let them rewrite us." "I reasoned that if I gave you space." "Space?" She chuckled, shattering glass once again. Behind them, Kasia cleared her throat and said, "You gave me a coffin, Dake." "We're losing light, darling," she remarked to Dake, her once sweet grin turning deadly. He winced, turned back to face Remy. "After this take, can we?" "No," the firm voice said, shocking them both. "We're finished." Before he could respond, she left, her heels striking across the marble floor like bullets. On camera and off. Once more, the director made a call. Remy's tears were dry this time when Kasia arrived at the altar and the organ began to play. Aurora gave a tiny, sorrowful, flawless grin. It was a hit with the camera. The internet would blow up. Within minutes, #DelectorWedding became a global trend. The cast wrap party was not attended by Remy. Instead, she took a car to the small chapel in Silver Lake where she and Dake intended to tie the knot in person the next spring. Now it's empty, with moonlight streaming through the stained glass. She took the seashell ring he had given her that evening on the pier out of her pocket as she sat in the front pew. Since he returned it for resizing, she had worn it on a chain. She put it on her finger. It was still appropriate. Her phone sprang to life. Another call from an unidentified number. She was on the verge of ignoring it, but something prompted her to respond. "Remy Lang?" A clear, East Coast woman's voice. "This is Heart and Harrow Productions' Mara Klein. The dailies from today's shot were shown to us. You had a breakdown at the altar? Unprocessed. Actual. We're working on a limited series about revenge, treachery, and tragic romance. For the lead, we want you. There are no auditions." Remy gazed at the ring. "Offers attached to your email." "What is the title?" "Working title. The Bride He Buried." She laughed until she started crying once more, but it was different this time. More acute. Like the first blow from a blade she planned to use on herself. The tabloids cried out. Delectra engaged. 2 weeks later. On the Santorini cliffs, Dake proposed to Kasia with a 10-carat diamond, a private jet, and a sunset. Remy had bookmarked the same ring designer on Pinterest. The articles were not read by Remy. She was too preoccupied with practicing her lines. Filming for the new series took place in Vancouver, where there are secrets hidden in every shadow and streets wet with rain. Lila Moreau, the character she played, was a wedding planner whose fiancé abandoned her for her maid of honor at the altar. Traditional configuration. Lila, however, did not fall apart. One flawless retaliation at a time, she set the world on fire. Remy entered the room wearing black leather and the seashell ring on a chain that resembled armor, according to the first table. There was silence in the room. Her new romantic interest, her co-star, wasn't just a handsome boy. His eyes were like winter seas, and he was a 35-year-old British man named Gabriel Saint. He was bored of saving the world, so he left a Marvel franchise to portray Damien Cross, the mysterious billionaire who could see through Lila's ice to the fire beneath. In their first encounter together, Damien discovers Lila intoxicated in an alley with her wedding gown torn and her bouquet burning in a garbage can. He offers a cigarette and remarks, "Wedding planning must be hell." Lila grabs the light, takes a breath, and looks at the flames. All that hope in one day. Hope is overvalued. With a half-smile that seemed frighteningly genuine, Gabriel said, "Vengeance, though, that keeps you warm." He stayed put when the director ordered cut. "You're not acting," he said. Remy looked him in the eyes and said, "That's blood in your teeth." Well, they began rehearsing late because the audience needs to know the truth. Dinner comes next. After that, there were cocktails until daybreak. Gabriel didn't need to inquire about Deke. Every time Remy's phone rang with another hashtag Delectra update, the narrative appeared on her face. Gabriel poured 2 glasses of actual whiskey in his trailer one evening after finishing a scene in which Lila poisons her ex's champagne. He raised a toast, to the ones who broke us. Remy gave her glass a clink. He looked at her and said, "May they choke on their happy endings." She touched the chain and said, "You still wear his ring." "Not for him. For me." Reminder. Of what? That I made it through the initial cut. Gabriel reached over, unclasped the chain, and removed the ring. "There won't be a second." He dropped it into his whiskey after holding it up to the light. Like a small shipwreck, it plummeted to the bottom. "It's time for another reminder," he declared. Then he gave her a slow, methodical kiss, as if he had been waiting eons for approval. Remy gave him a kiss in return that contained all of the emotions she had suppressed, including her anger, sadness, and love that she had believed had vanished with Deke's text. It was still alive. It had simply been dozing off, waiting for someone who wouldn't be alarmed by the debris. The wedding episode of Electra Bold and The Beautiful aired back in Los Angeles. Ratings broke all previous records. The actual engagement pictures of Deke and Kasia were all over the place, showing them laughing in the sunshine of Santorini and kissing on yachts. Every magazine had the caption, "Love wins." Remy saw the show once. I saw Deke's expression when Jace said, "I do." His gaze briefly shifted to the rear of the church set, where Aurora had been standing. Remy had bled for everyone to see. She switched off the television. Didn't weep. 6 months later, The Bride He Buried made its debut. Remy received the Golden Globe for her portrayal of Lila's gradual, graceful decline into stunning brutality, which critics described as the most devastating romance since Gone Girl. All night long, Gabriel kept her hand beneath the table. Across the room, Deke was standing with Kasia wrapped around his arm like a trophy. Remy stood too slowly as his name was called. Across the ballroom, their gazes locked. She witnessed everything of it. Longing, sorrow, and the ghost of the life they had nearly lived. Remy grinned. Aurora's sad smile turned into a deadly one. Without saying anything, she passed him. She thanked her mother, her cast, and her director on stage. "And to the man who taught me that love can be a battlefield, thank you for the war." The microphone quivered slightly. The camera panned to Deke and said, "I won." Live on national television, his face crumpled. Suddenly, Kasia's hold on his arm resembled a shackle. Twitter went crazy. For days, #RemyRevenge was popular. Remy wed Gabriel in the same Silver Lake chapel a year later. Not a single camera. Not a single orchid. Just 20 people who had loved her before she became a headline and rain against stained glass. Because white was reserved for girls who still adhered to fairy tales, she donned black. Gabriel placed a brand new white gold ring with small constellations engraved on it on her finger. He remarked, "For the nights we find our way back to each other." Deke sent some flowers. Roses in white. Remy abandoned them to perish on the steps of the chapel. She didn't read the tabloids that screamed, "Once more, Remy's revenge wedding." Dake devastated. She was too preoccupied with the life he had attempted to obliterate. Years went by. Following Kasia's DUI and Deke's quiet spiral, Electra Bold and The Beautiful was cancelled. He experimented with independent cinema, theater, and finally nothing. When last heard, he was instructing acting classes in Reseda, avoiding eye contact while discussing authentic emotion with the students. Luna Saint, the daughter of Remy and Gabriel, was born with her father's half-smile and her mother's hazel eyes. They brought her up in a home above the city, where the lights below no longer resembled shattered glass. They resembled stars that had mastered the art of falling and continuing to burn. Luna, a bold 5-year-old, discovered the seashell ring in a drawer one evening. "Why is there a small ocean in here, Mom?" Remy bent down and made contact with the pearl. "Because I was once promised the sea by a boy." Then he retracted it. Luna scowled. "That wasn't very nice." Remy concurred. "However, I learned that the ocean was never his to offer." She took her daughter to the balcony and said, "I always loved swimming." Los Angeles gleamed below, softer and brighter now. Remy embraced Luna tightly as Gabriel's arms encircled them both. The same city that had witnessed her break had also witnessed her ascent. A man who had previously captured her heart was sitting by himself in the distance, gazing at old pictures and discovering too late the distinction between ownership and love. Remy didn't turn around. She didn't have to. The story finished precisely where it was supposed to, with a woman realizing that devastation wasn't the best form of retaliation, rather than with a wedding that went awry. It was survival. It was happiness. It was making the daily decision to love someone who would never force her to beg for Dawn. For the man who had let her go, that was ultimately the most heartbreaking aspect of it all. For Remy Lang did not simply acquire a new companion. She was given a completely new life. She didn't turn around again. Expectation permeated the night air in Los Angeles, enveloping those who believed they had seen it all. Until recently, Deke Forrester had always been the man who knew what he wanted. Between the endless studio meetings, the long hours on set, and the late-night confrontations with Remy, the sparkle of his success had faded. In every way that mattered, she had been his companion, his lover, and his inspiration, but lately, every word they exchanged was tinged with disappointment. The city lights were too bright the night he ended it. The skyline was a quiet witness as they stood at the corner booth of their favorite rooftop bar. "Remy, we've been acting for months," Deke replied in a stern yet hushed voice. Remy was silent for a moment before saying, "You and I both know this isn't working anymore." She seemed to be drawing a circle around everything they had lost as her crimson fingernails traced the rim of her glass. "That's it then?" At last she spoke. "You make a decision and it's done?" He said, "I'm not making the decision for both of us." The hush that ensued was more acute than a scream. "We stopped deciding together a long time ago." Remy's eyes sparkled with rage rather than tears. "In this metropolis, do you believe you'll find someone better than me?" "Deke, good luck." He wanted to counter that she was mistaken and that he had given her everything. Everyone wants a piece of you until they realize you belong to yourself more than anyone else ever could. He was aware that she was correct, though. Deke had been pursuing an enigmatic goal that went beyond wealth or notoriety. Something about connection, truth, and perhaps even salvation. With her heels tapping the marble floor like a countdown to the finish line, Remy departed first. Deke vanished from the public eye for several days. Was Deke Forrester single again? Fans conjectured, tabloids murmured, and the city was alive with rumors. Next, who was he seeing? There was no one he was seeing. Not quite yet. Then everything changed at a Los Angeles Film Conservatory charity banquet. He met Elektra there. She wasn't precisely a member of the Hollywood scene. She was a photographer who had a reputation for making the commonplace seem dramatic. The world seemed to tilt toward her when Deke saw her across the room, camera in hand, hair caught in the gentle light. When their gazes locked, she said, "Smile." He said, half-jokingly, "I don't know how to anymore." "So don't," she answered. "Just be." That's how it started. Elektra was everything that Remy wasn't, intuitive where Remy was impetuous, quiet where Remy was explosive. She spoke less than she listened, and when she did speak, her words seemed to discover the places Deke had forgotten about. At first, they had informal encounters, such as coffee in the morning, walks around Echo Park, and late-night conversations that lasted until dawn. Within 2 weeks, the tabloids learned of it. One headline yelled, "Deke's new muse, Elektra lights up his life." She was dubbed the woman who tamed the bad boy of Beverly Hills by another. Remy witnessed everything. By then, she had committed herself fully to her career, determined to avoid being destroyed by heartbreak. However, the city's sense of timing was harsh. Pictures of Deke and Elektra were everywhere she looked. They were laughing, holding hands, and appeared to be the type of pair that had no idea what it meant to break up. Remy didn't immediately notify anyone that she had met someone new. He was a producer known for transforming turmoil into art. His name was Callan. For years, he had been in her orbit, always just out of reach. Callan had been the first to send flowers when Deke ended things, not out of sympathy, but out of acknowledgement. He understood what it was like to lose something you thought would last forever. Their relationship was professional at first. Then one evening, after a lengthy discussion on the price of love in a city like Los Angeles and an excessive number of glasses of Merlot, he planted a kiss on her. It was something more stable, something she was unaware she needed, rather than pyrotechnics. The city that had belonged to Remy and Deke started to change. Under the same skyline, two new stories were now being told by two new couples. But love is never allowed to rest in Los Angeles. There were rumors going around. The gossip bloggers didn't care when a picture of Deke and Remy in the same room was leaked. It was just a coincidence, an industry event, nothing more. They penned their own script. Rekindled old flames? As Electra and Callan observe from the sidelines, jealousy breaks out. After seeing the headlines, Electra initially dismissed it with a laugh. She said to Deke, "They need something to write about." However, the laughter subsided late at night when she noticed how his gaze strayed to the past. She confronted him one evening. "Are you still in love with her?" Deke paused, a moment that speaks louder than any admission. He said, "I don't know what I feel anymore. I burned too bright for too long with Remy." Electra glanced away, her reflection shaking in the window. "There are moments when I feel like I'm still walking through the ashes," she said. "Maybe I'm just a way for you to forget her." "You're not," Deke remarked as he moved in closer. "You're the first real thing I've had in a long time," she said, yet the gap that had already developed between them remained. Callan and Remy, meantime, were starting to become the talk of the town. They were spotted everywhere, including at banquets, premieres, and the Malibu beach house that was the talk of the town. Remy was radiant, as though her loss had just strengthened her. However, she sensed a hollowness inside. Callan had a firm, grounded love for her. He didn't seek headlines or play games. However, he did not give her the same sense of pandemonium as Deke had, which gave her the impression that she was still alive. Remy acknowledged it one evening when the sea broke on the coast. Sitting next to Callan, she whispered, "I thought I wanted peace." Callan gazed at her with knowing eyes and said, "But maybe I'm addicted to the storm." Remy, the hurricane always leaves devastation behind. She wanted to trust him when he said, "You'll stop chasing it one day." Weeks went by. Under intense scrutiny, Deke and Electra's relationship started to fall apart. Fans analyzed every move they made, and paparazzi trailed them everywhere. The media went into overdrive when it was rumored that Electra had received an offer to film a music video featuring Callan, Remy's new companion. It was accurate. All four of them were compelled to return to the same orbit by the project. It was an exciting first day on set. Remy was already there, practicing with Callan, when Deke unexpectedly showed up and declared that he wanted to support Electra. It was thick enough to cut through the air.